Hello and welcome back to Tai'Shar Minithrin, Wheel of Time podcast. I'm Sam.
I'm Will.
We're here to almost finish the slog. Yeah.
Yes, it's the penultimate episode of the slog.
Anyway, so we'll let Will slog us through.
That sounds good. Starting off in chapter 20, In the Night, I called this one a skim. It's an Egwene perspective. Egwene talks with Chesa, her serving woman, and they talk about how Halima doesn't seem to be around. Chesa says that Halima creeps her out. Chesa is a discerning one, actually.
She is. She has had several nuggets of wisdom.
Yes. Might be good to listen to her, Egwene. Then Egwene goes slide into Elaine's dream DMs in Teleon Riyadh.
Like you do.
But yeah, right. But instead of Elaine showing up, Avienda appears and says Egwene can't come to the phone right now because she's got the pregnant. Specifically, it seems she's expecting twins. After talking with Avienda for a second, she pieces out and decides to look for a true dream, which is what they're now calling the dream that has some symbolic significance for the future. The first one she sees is Matrim Cawthon. Matt is bowling. They call it a game of bowls, which sounds like a weird parody of a song in Ice and Fire that's just about a bloody struggle between soup or cereal companies.
I'd watch that show. Yeah.
Yeah, right. As I thought about making that joke, I decided against making a toilet bowl joke. I want you to know.
For some reason, I was thinking of marijuana. I've never. I don't.
Yeah, I guess you could go that direction. Yeah, I really do think the toilet bowl joke would have been more funny, but I want you to know I rose above that base kind of humor. Anyway, Matt's bowling. The pins turn into men, and he keeps bowling them over again and again, which Egwene somehow means that he's going to be involved in the death of thousands of men. And also an Illuminator is going to be involved. She remembers having a dream that had a similar meaning before.
I wonder how many montages of dream interpretations of Egwene's RJ's written. You could probably figure that out. There's more than 3.
I mean, it's probably fewer times than it feels, just because I'm usually surprised when I look at some stats about time, and I'm like, oh, I thought there was more of that.
Sure.
Again, because this isn't our first time reading through, we can recall what this means or what it's going to mean. And so it's kind of interesting. But the first time I read this through, I was kind of like, I guess that's neat for her. I don't understand it. Her next dream involves a Shan woman helping her, a thought she doesn't like at all, and a tower spire getting attacked by crows, which she takes to mean that the Shan are going to attack the White Tower. Halima comes in to Egwene's tent, which wakes her. Although this is kind of an interesting thing. I can't recall us encountering before where somebody is just awakened by like random noise from Teleon Riyadh.
Yeah, true.
And so maybe it's happened, but typically it seems like it like requires somebody like really intentionally like grabbing them or something, but it's not like a light sleep.
Right.
Anyway, Egwene decides she better get some quality sleep, some real sleep, some real rest. The next morning, when Chesa is in her tent, Aes Sedai, number 432, rushes in and asks Chesa and Halima to leave, which they do. 432 then weaves a cone of silence and explains that Aes Sedai, number 37, and her warder have been killed. But when 432 tested for resonance, it was clear that they were killed by Saidin. Egwene sets 432. Okay, it's Nisail. Whatever. This is her name. But she's supposed to find out who did the killing. Of course, they're worried that it might be an Ashaman, and Egwene then swears her to secrecy. So
it's so funny because that paragraph literally could have come from one of the chapters I'm covering in the next episode. Literally, almost exactly.
Yeah, that's why they call it the slog, baby. Chapter 21, A Mark. Once again, I call this a skim. An Alviaran perspective. So Alvi has just returned from Tremalking. You may recall that's where the female Chodan Call was before it was destroyed during the cleansing of Sidene, or attempted cleansing. We don't know for sure that it got cleansed yet, I don't think. Alvi is frustrated because she's subservient to Masana, and Masana has ordered her to be careful about revealing traveling to the rest of the women of the tower. So she's appeared in the ninth repository, or if I would have called it in high school, the ninth suppository, because that's where the math books are. I like this detail that Jordan clearly was not a fan of math either, as Alviarin chooses this location because of how unpopular it is.
No one's ever there. Love it.
However, she quickly runs into some librarians who make some ominous comments and that send her straight to the Armerlin study, where she immediately realizes that the dynamics have shifted in her absence. When she gets there, she learns that the sitters are meeting with Elida, and she's shocked when Elida tells her to stand in the corner or suffer a penance.
Oh, sassy.
Yeah. They're discussing whether negotiations should be made with the Saladar rebel Aes Sedai. Many of them are concerned that because the rebels have learned to travel, that they will have a large advantage if it comes to a conflict. Elida is unwavering in her belief that the rebels need to be punished. Okay, so this is where I have to say that in the past, I have said that Elida wasn't being stupid. She was just acting off bad information. And now this is where she starts to just be stupid.
Yeah, it's like now that she actually has some power and influence, is like now she has an opportunity to really just, now that she's actually able to influence events, she shows how dumb she really is.
Yeah. I guess you could argue that she just doesn't believe that they actually have rediscovered traveling because she hasn't seen it with her own eyes, and maybe that's why. But logically, it's like, if you're being sieged by people who can travel anywhere in an instant, and you can't do that, then you're not going to win. And so it would make total sense to, at least parlay with them. But she's just
not going to do it.
Not going to do it. The sitters leave, and then Elida just full on slaps Alviarin. I imagine
it's probably pretty satisfying.
Yeah, full arm, and
let her have it.
Yep. And then she explains that all the stuff that Alvi was blackmailing Elida with is now going to be laid at the feet of Tovane Ghazal, who led the attack against the Black Tower. So with her scapegoat secured, all of
I want a scapegoat. Where do you buy scapegoats?
I understand they're really goats are pretty handy for keeping your grass trimmed.
Yeah, you can rent them in my area. I've like gone running before and seen like a gazebo set up in someone's yard, or not a gazebo, just a over covering thing, and there were like a couple sheepdogs and then like some chicken wire set up, or maybe not chicken, it was some kind of fencing, and a bunch of goats just out there in the kudzu. So you can rent them for a couple days and they'll just clear a patch of land.
Wow. Yeah. That actually is kind of brilliant.
I took some photos.
I could appreciate specifically a scapegoat that I could rent to just blame everything on and be like, absolutely. That would be nice too.
They'll probably eat everything too. So that's
yes. Yeah, I would like to know, because you see the cartoons as a kid, where you would see goats and they would eat like 10 cans. I really would like to know what the extent of that is true.
How far will they really go? It's a good question. I know they do climb things for real. Like they'll destroy a car by climbing up on it because they want to get up high.
Yeah,
because goats. Stuff you should know. This is our pivot into their ballpark.
Yeah. Anyway, with the scapegoat secured, all of Alviarin's leverage is gone. So Elida explains that she would have her executed if she had more evidence against her, but for now, she's been removed as the keeper of the chronicles and will report to the mistress of novices for penance. That's mistress of novices for penance. That's a little bit of a tricky
I know phrase. New York. I need New York.
I know I need unique New York. I have to say, this dynamic, the one between Alviarin and Elida, it's got to be so weird to, especially to like the sitters.
Yeah, it's pretty unhealthy watching the people in charge just, slap each other and
Right.
generally be awful people.
Well, it's just like 1 minute Alviarin is clearly the one calling the shots, and Elida is all nervous and afraid of her. Like they had to have seen that. Like
Yeah, right, sure.
Even if they don't know what's really going on, and then. And at the same time, like Elida is showing up to the Mistress of Novices study to report for penance. And then next, Elida is back to her usual dictatorial self, and Alviarin is being punished.
Yeah,
I feel like they would have to notice all this, right?
Like
they have to
what's
be going
on, man?
Yeah, it's like, is there something? I don't know. I feel like there's something's not quite. Anyway,
Yep.
I mean, like if you can imagine, like walking in and your boss's secretary is like standing behind them, and your boss is all nervous and like checking, looking at them for every decision, and then
Hey man, she runs that place for real though.
well, everybody who's had a good administrator knows that is the case.
That is, yeah. But I know what you mean.
But yeah,
nobody's usually no one's getting slapped.
You're right.
Usually.
Well, I mean, this happened behind closed doors anyway, so you wouldn't necessarily know.
Fair.
Alviarin goes to her apartment and picks up the Forsaken phone. It's kind of what it sounds like.
Banana phone.
Yeah, she gets a Turan Grial that's red, and I picture it kind of like the Bat phone in the Adam West.
Right.
Like Batman. Like she goes and picks it up. She calls up Masana, who's all like, I'm just going to kill you now.
Right. You're useless to me.
Honestly, I'm like, how did she think that was going to go? And anyway, suddenly, as luck would have it for Alviarin, Shaidar Haran shows up and tells Masana that she shouldn't kill Alviarin, and instead he punishes her.
Right.
And this whole interaction is just kind of strange to me.
It's pretty creepy, yeah. It's kind of cringy, creepy, yucky.
Yeah. It's like, why? And anyway, but then Shaidar Haran marks Alviarin and says that it's her job to seek out the threats to the Black Aja. And Alviarin thinks to herself after she's hung up the phone, she doesn't know where to start, but knows that she's definitely going to blame it all on Elida. And what's funny is I've so been there. You ever have a coworker that when something happens and your boss is like, what happened there? And you basically kind of just are like, well, I really don't know what happened, but it's all that guy's fault.
It's definitely Chad.
Right, exactly.
Seriously though, Chad.
Yeah, dang it, Chad. Yeah, there are times where it's just like, I look, I'm not certain what happened, but I am certain that somehow he had something to do with it. Chad did.
Yep.
Okay, so chapter 22, one answer, one word, skip.
Very good.
Pavara, the Red Sister, who's part of the group that is trying to suss out the Black Aja in the tower, is speaking to Tarna Fair, who's a Red Sister that has been raised to keeper. And since Alviarin lost the job, they are talking about the Ashraman. They both agree that the problem of the Black Tower has gone on too long, and now it can't be reversed. So Tarna says that she believes the only way to control these men who can channel is for the Red Aja to go and bond them as warders. She argues that the Reds are the only one who have real experience facing men who can channel. So Pavara gives her a message that she received from the women who were bonded by the Ashman already. And Tarna says it doesn't change anything, but Pavara believes it changes everything. And that's all for this chapter.
Lovely. We learned nothing.
Yeah. Chapter 23, Ornaments. I give this one a read.
Hey.
You may be like, why? Okay, well, this is a Cadsuane chapter, but it's a read for one very important reason. It is the first time that we see Rand in this book.
Indeed.
And it's not an exciting chapter. Not too much really happens. But finally, 23 chapters in, we get to see Rand after the events of the last book. Right. But first, Cadsuane is with men in the house of one of the Tyrian lords. they've helped the sea folk return there so they can board their ships and choose a new wave mistress. Min already knows who it is. Spoiler, it's Harine. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I think in the Wikia, they didn't even link to her account on the summary of this.
Yeah.
So it was like, it's not important. It's kind of
Nope.
in the courtyard. Cadsuane notices that the Ashaman are practicing the sword. It's kind of unusual. The guys that can channel would make the special effort to actually
beat each other with sticks.
Yeah, learn how to sword fight. So the ornaments in her hair, that's what this chapter is named for. They all do something different, though apparently she has 3 of them. She doesn't even know what they do. Can you imagine? Yeah, like carrying around like a little electronic device. Like
this is from an ancient civilization, and it's high tech, and I have no idea what it does.
Yeah, just wearing that on your person all the time.
Sure.
But anyway, apparently one of them vibrates when a man who can channel is near, and the more male channelers, the more it vibrates. So I guess right now it's just kind of going crazy.
Buzzing around.
Yeah. So she goes to see Rand. Rand is actually polite to her, and they talk about how the Lord who owns the property has a brother who can channel, and he's actually excited for his brother to possibly become an Ashaman. And what's more is the Lord himself wants to be tested to see if he can learn to channel. This really is actually kind of an interesting point, just is showing how quickly things are changing in regards to channeling in general, because Tyr used to not even allow channeling at all, but also specifically the way that men who can channel are being viewed. So, yeah, then Cadsuane and Rand talk a little bit about the Shan-Chan and how they're regrouping and what they should do. Then some of the Aes Sedai, sworn to Rand, run in and say all their warders are on their way.
Okay.
And Rand's like, okay, I thought this would happen. And you're like, what would happen? And that's the end of that chapter. Chapter 24, A Strengthening Storm. And so this is a read because, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for. He's the Dragon Reborn. He's the Lord of the Morning. Some might say he's the main character. It's a Rand perspective. I don't want to appear ungrateful for this chapter, but this book reminds me of the joke. It's like the 2 women eating in the restaurant, and one says, the food here is so terrible. And the other one says, yes, and in such small portions. Rand is snuggling in bed with Min, really just musing. He's musing about all the things that Rand thinks about. How he's worried about the ladies. He's worried about going mad. He's worried about whether the giant floating baby head he now sees everywhere is real or not.
Sure.
I mean, that last one up. He thinks of Mat for a minute, sees the swirling colors, sees Mat. It's raining outside. And then we finally get confirmation that the cleansing of Sidene worked.
Hooray.
He sees Sidene and feels how clean it is.
It's like, was that ever really in question? But yeah, it kind of was.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't gotten it confirmed up to this point. So here we are, at least 70% of the way through this book at this point. And we are just now getting confirmation that the climax at the end of the previous book actually resulted in something.
Well, yeah, first we had to react to everyone around the world saying, what's that thing over there?
Basically. And Loyal shows up, and we find out he's been visiting all the settings to warn them that Shadow Spawn have been using the Waygates and telling them to guard them. Loyal's worried about his mom and his bride-to-be, Aerith, showing up and making him settle down. Loyal also tells Rand about the Aes Sedai being bonded by the Ashaman, and Jordan decides that's enough Rand perspective for now.
For the book, really. I mean, except for the epilogue, I think.
Yeah, there's a moosh boosh. We get a little more of this chapter because this is what's odd to me. So we're with Rand, then we switch to Cadsuane for just to find out basically that she's upset about Aes Sedai being bonded by Ashaman. Then she orders Samitsu to go to Cairhien to check on Sashel, and as if detecting the reader's will, Jordan swaps back for one more moment of Rand, which it's not like it's significantly later. I don't know why. That was just an odd.
Yeah, that is weird.
Rand is upset with Logain about the bonding of the Aes Sedai. Logain tells Rand that he needs to check in with the Black Tower to keep Taim from doing Taim stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Bashir tells Rand that he thinks the same guys that tried to kill Dobrain ransacked his tent and are attempting to find the seals in the Dark One's prison that Rand has in his possession.
Right.
So Rand sends Loyal, Bashir, and Logain. Okay, to where? You're like, all right, so he's going to like send them to the Black Tower to fix something or something to do with the seals or something that was at all relevant.
Something related to what they know. And
right. And he says, nope, go to the Shan-Chan, make a truce so we don't have to fight them. And
just solve that problem for me.
Yeah. So they're like, okay. Jordan says once again, okay, enough, Rand. You've had too much.
Yes.
Now we're at Elza Pinfell, or Aes Sedai 521. This one's slightly more significant because we find out she's Black Aja. She orders her warder to protect Rand since he needs to make it to the last battle for the Great Lord to defeat him or turn into the
really confusing
or something.
Just really confusing series of motivations.
Yes. I'm not even. I don't understand why this is a funny chapter to me because you get, like I said, your first Rand perspective, then it shifts away quickly, then to Cadsuane for just like a second, then you go back to Rand, and then it shifts away again randomly to this random Black Aja,
right? Who, just to be clear, she's there with Rand. She's like one of the ones at the door, I think. That's keeping people out. So that's the only reason it's mildly related.
Yeah. So I guess you do get new information, but it's
new information that there is a Black Aja that is very close to Rand. It's like, well, he's surrounded. He's lousy with Forsaken anyway. So okay,
right? Yeah, it's just.
And this particular Black Aja wants to keep him alive.
Well, it's odd, too, because the Black Aja seem like such a small threat in comparison to all the Forsaken that are coming after Rand.
We spend so much time hunting down Black Aja. Like, we just don't care.
It's all right. So, chapter 25, When to Wear Jewels. You know what? I have
always wear jewels, Will.
Okay, well that's helpful because I was thinking to myself, I have been looking for a guide on when it's appropriate to wear jewels, and I thought this was going to be that step by step, just kind of maybe a flow chart or a Q&A or like a BuzzFeed quiz kind of thing, but nope. That's not what this is. Instead, it's about Perrin. Perrin takes a bunch of folks and he goes to So Harbor to get some supplies via Gateway. This is a funny thing that happens, I feel like, a lot more in the slog than other parts, where there's a chapter about, okay, we're about to do something. And then there's a chapter after that about them doing the thing that they just... That's
true. That happens often.
Because this chapter is just saying, we're going to go
go do that thing.
Yeah, we're going to go to So Harbor. We're going to get some supplies.
It's So Harbor.
Bower, Berlane, Niald, a ton of other less important people are there. He's trying to figure out what to do at Malden, and they see some Shan-Chan beasts in the air. It's been over a month since the shadow took Fail, and that's basically everything that happens in this chapter.
Charming.
And so once again, you're like, okay, so this next chapter must be in a different
perspective
or something, like at least a few out. This is just a few seconds later when they're in So Harbor.
Jordan has a chapter quota.
I don't know. Yeah, it should.
Time for breakfast. New chapter.
Yeah, exactly. This should be part of the last chapter, in my humble opinion. Now we're in So Harbor. They get to buy some grain, and all the grain they find seems to be covered in weevils.
Weevilled.
Yes. And so they demand that it be winnowed.
Which is, I guess, is that like the actual term for de-weevilling grain? I love it.
Yeah. What, winnowing?
Winnowing, yeah.
Yeah, so they talk about winnowing in the Bible some.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's where...
Remove the chaff.
Yeah, where you like throw it up in the air and somebody waves a fan and the good parts of the grain too heavy to be blown away, so they like fall back down and the bad parts fly away. I guess something like that.
Yeah, love it.
So yes, yeah. So they're like, this must be winnowed. Winnow it hard.
Winnow in Rome.
Some of the party claim they saw ghosts walking around out in the town. So Perrin's like, cool. I guess there are ghosts here because one of the people saying that is an Aes Sedai and she can't lie. So he's like, all right, cool nugget of info. So I'm just focused on saving the fight.
Right, I
so,
don't care.
Yeah, he's just kind of like, I'm not all that interested. All right, so that's the end of the chapter, and that's jazz, baby.
Very good. Stay classy, San Diego. Oh,
that should have been our sign off instead of the Tai'Shar Manethrin.
right.
And that's jazz, baby.
Absolutely. Very good. Well, if you would like to donate, I guess we didn't mention at the beginning, we have a website. We have a yellow donate button. If not, hey, it's all gravy. Happy you're here. As usual, if you'd like to contact us, stuff at tsmpodcast.com or Will or Sam at tsmpodcast.com. Podcast TSM on all the socials. You can reach out to us there, talk to us about the slog, all the things you love, all the things we skipped, all the things we got wrong, all the names we mispronounced. Always happy to hear. When some point soonish, we will do an off-topic mailbag episode to discuss those things.
Sure.
And until next time, Tai'Shar Manethrin.